Hello, everyone. My name is Teacher Alex Muhembi, and I will be taking you through business organization. So, welcome to our today's lesson. And just in a few, let me share the slide. Yes, so as you can see, our learning area is business organization. And in our today's lesson, we are simply going to look at the factors to consider before starting a business. So before you start a business, there are factors which you need to consider. Now, our learning objective is going to be as follows. Of course, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to, number one, state and explain factors to consider when starting a business. So that is one of the objectives. By the end of this lesson, you should be in a position to do that. Number two, you are supposed to be able to list the sources of business ideas. Sources of business ideas. And with that, I want us to start. Of course, I've said that the topic is factors to consider in initiating and starting a business. So that will be our topic for today. Now, before we look at those factors, it is good for us to understand the ideas for initiating a business. And in that regard, I would want us to look at what is a business idea, because that is basically what we are talking about. So a business idea refers to what is cooking in the mind of an entrepreneur concerning a prospective business. So that is what we call a business idea. What is cooking in the mind of an entrepreneur, and it must concern a prospective business, a successful business. So that is what we call a business idea. And talking about that, the ideas could be about a product, and in that case, we could be talking about the kind of the product that you are going to sell, isn't it? Again, the idea could be about the market, and in this case, we are talking about the people to whom you are going to sell to, your customers. Are they in demand of the product that you're going to sell if you're going to start a business? So that is another idea. Again, the idea could be about location, where your business will be located, and even about the management. How is it going to be managed, among others? So having said that, allow me to look at the sources of business ideas. Sources of business ideas. Where do we get business idea? Where do we get them? Now, some of the sources of business ideas include, number one, we have newspapers. Of course, if you're going to read newspapers, you can get some of the business idea from those newspapers. We even have the magazine articles is also another source, which I have not mentioned here. The other source is survey. Of course, in this case, you are going to conduct a survey to find out which is the most suitable business to engage in. Again, you could listen to what people say. It is also a source of business idea. Hobbies, of course, you can start a business based on what you like, your hobbies. Again, we also have vocational training, stroke experience. So you can still get your business idea from your vocational training or from your previous experience. We even have waste products is also a source of business idea. Waste products, of course, in this case, you are going to come up with the waste products, and in that case, the waste products will serve as your business idea. You can do a business from that. For example, we have scrap metal. You collect them, you use them to make something like a jiko, and that is a business idea. We have spotting a market gap. And in this case, we are talking about uh, finding out what are some of the gaps that could exist in a certain area or in a certain market. For example, the gaps could be unavailability of products. If at all a product is not available in the market, then that is a business idea. The other gaps could be a provision of poor services. If somebody is providing poor services, you could still find it as a business idea for you. We even have high prices. If at all people are being overcharged high prices on the products that they buy, then you could still enter into that kind of business and provide affordable prices. Among others, even we have insufficient quantities, yeah, those are some of the gaps that could be or they could exist in the market. So these are sources of business idea. Now, having said that, I want us to look at factors to consider when starting a business. Our main objective for this lesson was looking at the factors to consider when starting a business. So which factors do you need to consider if you are going to start a business? So number one, you should look at the availability of market. And in that case, we are talking about the demand. We look at the customers. Do you have market for your business? So that is a factor. Again, we have labor is also another factor, and labor refers to human effort applied to work or in production. So that is what we call labor. And labor could be in terms of skilled labor, unskilled labor, semi-skilled labor. So it is upon you to decide which kind of labor are you looking for. So availability of labor is also another factor to consider. Again, you need to look at the availability of capital. Do you have funds, finance to start your business? So it is a very key factor to consider. Again, we have location of the business, where your business will be located is also a factor. You look at an area where there is a lot of people, isn't it? When you're looking at the location, you look for an area where there is a lot of people. You could also look at an area where you could easily find raw materials if you are going to engage in manufacturing, all those kind of things. So location is very key. It is a factor. Another factor is government policy, and in this case, we are talking about legal requirements. That is in terms of obtaining a trading license. So it is also important for you to look at that as a factor before you start any kind of business, and that is business of your choice. Again, we have technology, and the technology, we are talking about the level of know-how, that is the technology. And in that case, you need to look at the updated technology, appropriate technology, and affordable technology, the one that you can afford in terms of the cost. So technology is a factor. Now, you can imagine if you are entering into a business and you realize that the business that you are engaged in requires technology, and the one that you are using currently is outdated. So it will not be profitable for you. And in that case, technology is a factor to consider. Again, you need to look at competition. Look at the level of competition. Look at your competitors. Before you start any kind of business, you need to look at competition. Lastly, we have interest. Now, with interest, this is a personal consideration. In that case, you'll be looking at it in terms of doing something that you like. You could do something that you like. Imagine engaging in a business which you are not happy doing it. So you might not be in a position to be successful or make profit as expected. So interest is one of the factor that should be considered. So those are the factors that you need to consider when you are starting a business. Now for your assignment, you look at these two questions. You will be able to answer them and ensure that you have understood the concept. This will help you in understanding what we have covered today. So with those few remarks, I want to thank you, and I also want to welcome you once again to more sessions. Have a nice time. Bye bye.